The night my daughter pushed a lone folder across my birthday table and called it loyalty, I learned something I should have learned 20 years earlier. Being quiet does not make you available. Being a father does not make your name free for anyone to use. And love, real love, does not require you to sign your dignity away just so your child can keep pretending she married an honest man. My name is Everett Cole. I am 68 years old, retired, widowed, and I live in a small brick house outside Hendersonville, Tennessee, not far from Old Hickory Lake. I spent 36 years in community banking, most of them in loan review and fraud compliance. That is a dry way to make a living, I know. Nobody grows up dreaming about reading lean documents and checking signatures against old files. But it taught me one thing that has served me well. Paper remembers. People lie. Smiles lie. Family dinners lie. But paper remembers exactly what someone tried to do when they thought nobody was watching. My daughter, Marissa, used to know that about me. When she was little, she would sit at my desk and watch me sort statements into neat stacks. She would ask why I checked everything twice. I would tell her, because one careless line can cost an honest person everything. She would nod like I had handed her wisdom from Mount Sinai, then go back to coloring horses in the margins of my old notepads. She was 31 now, married 5 years to a man named Brent Callahan, who smiled like he had studied it in a mirror and shook hands like he was trying to leave bruises. Brent owned a company called Callahan Custom Outdoors. Decks, patios, pergolas, outdoor kitchens, that sort of thing. He had the truck, the logo, the social media videos, the shirts with his name stitched across the chest. What he did not have, as I learned slowly, was patience, humility, or the ability to tell the truth when a lie could get him there faster. That Thursday evening was supposed to be my birthday dinner. 68, nothing dramatic. At my age, birthdays are less about candles and more about who still bothers to show up. Marissa had insisted on hosting it at their house in Franklin, a big white modern farmhouse with black windows and a front porch that looked designed for magazine photos, not people. I had helped them with the down payment 3 years earlier. I never brought that up. Parents remember what they give. Children remember what they think they are still owed. I arrived at 6. I brought a bottle of apple cider, because I do not drink anymore, and a small box of old photographs I had found in the hallway closet. Pictures of Marissa as a child. Her mother, Helen, in a yellow sweater. Summer trips. School plays. The kind of memories you bring when you still believe the past can soften the present. Marissa opened the door before I rang the bell. "Dad," she said, smiling too quickly. I knew that smile. Every parent does. The smile your child gives you when she has already decided something and is hoping love will make you too slow to notice. "Hey, sweetheart," I said. She hugged me with one arm. Her other hand stayed tucked against her side, holding her phone. Brent came down the hallway behind her, wearing a navy shirt with his company logo on the chest, at a family dinner, my birthday dinner. That told me something before he said a word. "Everett," he said, reaching for my hand. "Birthday man." Brent. His grip was too strong, as usual. I let him have that little victory. Some men need to win the handshake, because they are losing somewhere else. The house smelled like roast chicken and rosemary. The dining room table was set with the good plates, the ones Marissa once told me were too expensive to use. There were candles, cloth napkins, and a birthday cake from a bakery in downtown Franklin. On the sideboard, near the wine glasses, sat a brown leather folder. I saw it the second I walked in. Brent saw me see it. That was the first crack in the evening. Dinner began politely enough. Marissa asked about my garden. Brent talked about a large backyard project he had just finished for a music producer south of Nashville. I listened. I nodded. I cut my chicken into small pieces and let him fill the room with himself. About 15 minutes in, he leaned back and cleared his throat. "So, Everett," he said, "I don't know if Marissa mentioned it, but we're at a pretty big turning point with the business." Marissa looked at her plate. "She mentioned you were expanding," I said. "Not just expanding," Brent said. "Scaling. There's a difference." There it was. Men like Brent love words that make risk sound like destiny. He went on about a warehouse space in Brentwood. New crews. commercial clients, investor meetings, equipment purchases. He talked with his hands. He talked like the future had already signed a contract with him and was just waiting for everyone else to catch up. It's the kind of opportunity that changes a family, he said. Family, that word does a lot of work in the wrong mouth. I took a sip of cider. Sounds expensive. Brent smiled. Takes money to make money. Marissa finally looked up. Her eyes were nervous, but not surprised. That hurt more than I expected. Brent stood and walked to the sideboard. He picked up the leather folder and brought it back to the table. He placed it beside my plate gently, almost respectfully, like a Bible. We just need one final piece handled tonight, he said. I did not touch the folder. What piece? Marissa reached for my hand. Dad, before you react, please just listen. That sentence has never been followed by anything good. Brent opened the folder and turned a page toward me. There was a printed form inside, with colored tabs marking places for signatures. I did not need to read much. My eyes went where they had gone for 36 years. Borrower, guarantor, collateral. Property description. Then I saw it. The lake cabin, not my main house, not Marissa's house. The cabin on Center Hill Lake that Helen and I bought when Marissa was 9. The cabin where my wife spent her last good summer before cancer made the stairs too hard. The cabin I still kept even though I only used it a few weekends a year, because some places become more than property. They become the last room where grief can sit quietly without bothering anyone. I looked at the parcel number, the legal description, my full name, Everett James Cole. Brent had used my lake cabin as proposed collateral for a $380,000 business line of credit. And that was not the part that made my blood go cold. There was already a signature page in the file, with my name on it, not my signature. Close enough to fool a tired clerk, maybe. Not close enough to fool me. I looked up at Brent. He smiled. Not big, not obvious. Just enough to tell me he thought the trap had already closed. Before you get worked up, he said, that earlier copy was just preliminary. The bank needs a clean confirmation signature tonight, so we can finalize in the morning. Marissa squeezed my hand. It's not like we're taking the cabin, Dad. It's just backing the loan. Brent has everything under control. I looked at my daughter, and for a moment I did not see a grown woman in a cream blouse sitting under expensive light fixtures. I saw a 7-year-old with missing front teeth asking if we could stop for ice cream after church. That is the danger with adult children. Your memory keeps defending them long after their choices have changed. Who signed the preliminary copy? I asked. Brent gave a short laugh. Everett, come on. Who signed it? Marissa's face tightened. Dad, don't start. Marissa, I said, still calm. My name is on a guarantor document attached to my property. A signature resembling mine is already in the file. I am asking a simple question. Brent's smile thinned. It was a placeholder. A placeholder. That word sat on the table between us, ugly and ridiculous. You placed my signature on a loan package. He leaned back. I placed your support where it was always going to be. There are moments in life when a room changes shape around you. Same table, same candles, same daughter, same chicken getting cold on the plate. But something invisible shifts, and you understand you are no longer being asked. You are being managed. I did not agree to guarantee your loan, I said. Brent's voice softened. That was his next move. The wounded man. Everett, I have worked day and night to build something for this family, for your daughter, for your future grandchildren, if God blesses us that way. You know how banks are. They want old assets behind new growth. You have a cabin sitting there doing nothing. Doing nothing? I repeated. Marissa closed her eyes. Brent realized too late he had stepped on sacred ground. But men like him do not apologize when a shovel is still in their hands. They dig. I mean financially, he said. Emotionally, sure, I get it. But at some point, sentiment has to serve the living. That was when I took my hand away from Marissa's. She noticed. Dad, she said, sharper now. Please, don't make this ugly. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because sometimes pain arrives wearing an absurd hat. I did not forge my own name, sweetheart. Her cheeks flushed. Nobody forged anything. Brent was trying to move the process along, by putting my property at risk without asking me. It's not at risk if he succeeds. And if he doesn't? Brent tapped the folder with 2 fingers. I will. I will. There it was again. That confidence. Not earned confidence. Borrowed confidence. The kind men like Brent wear until someone asks to see the receipt. I closed the folder. No. One word. Plain. Clean. Honest. Marissa stared at me like I had slapped her. No? Brent said. No. I repeated. I will not sign. I will not guarantee this loan. And I want my name removed from every document submitted to Cumberland Heritage Bank by opening tomorrow. Brent looked at Marissa. Not at me. At her. I watched him make the same calculation I had seen dishonest men make across conference tables for decades. When facts stop working, use emotion. When emotion fails, use family. When family fails, use fear. Marissa, he said quietly, your father is about to destroy everything we've built because he can't let go of a cabin. She turned to me, eyes wet now, but angry wet. Why are you doing this? I'm protecting myself. No, you're punishing us. Your husband used my name without permission. He was going to tell you. When? Tonight. After he had already sent the file to the bank? She stood up so fast her chair scraped the floor. You always do this. You make everything about rules, and papers, and signatures. This is our life, Dad. This is my marriage. And my home. It's a cabin. It was your mother's favorite place. Her face changed for half a second. Grief passed through it like a bird shadow. Then Brent reached over and touched her elbow, and the shadow was gone. Marissa looked at me, and the words came out hard. You are going to sign those papers tonight. Then you are going to apologize to Brent for treating him like a criminal. Or don't bother calling yourself part of this family anymore. The candles flickered. The house went still. I looked at my daughter, my only child, the girl I raised through scraped knees, school anxiety, her mother's illness, funeral clothes, college tuition, her first heartbreak, her wedding. I looked at her standing beside the man who had put a fake version of my signature on a bank document and was now watching me with the smallest smirk I had ever seen. That smirk said he knew me. It said he had heard the stories. Everett always gives in. Everett hates conflict. Everett will fold if Marissa cries. Everett will choose his daughter over himself because he always has. The sad thing is, family, until that night, he would have been right. I stood slowly, not angry, not shaking, just finished. Marissa's mouth opened like she expected me to plead. I looked Brent in the eye and said 5 words. You forged the wrong man. Then I picked up my jacket, took the box of photographs from the sideboard, and walked out before my daughter could decide whether she was sorry or furious. They thought I left because I was hurt. They did not understand that I left because the next thing I needed to do required a quiet room, a clear head, and 1 phone call. I drove home with the radio off. The road from Franklin to Hendersonville is familiar enough that I barely had to think about it. Streetlights, brake lights, dark lawns, families behind windows eating dinner, watching television, living ordinary lives that looked peaceful from the road. By the time I pulled into my driveway, the anger had burned down to something colder and more useful. I set my keys in the little ceramic bowl Helen made in a pottery class back in 1998. I hung my jacket. I put the box of photographs on the kitchen table. Then I sat down and let the house be quiet around me. That is the part people misunderstand about betrayal. The loud moment is not always the worst moment. Sometimes the worst moment comes after, when nobody is speaking and your mind starts laying old memories beside new facts. Marissa at 6, asleep on my shoulder during a thunderstorm. Marissa at 12, crying because a girl at school called her weird. Marissa at 24, walking down the aisle with tears in her eyes. Marissa at 31, telling me to sign away my dead wife's cabin or stop calling myself family. I sat there for nearly an hour. Then I opened my laptop. 3 days before that dinner, I had received an email from the county property alert system. I signed up for it years ago because, after a career in banking, I trust locks but verify hinges. The alert said an inquiry had been made on the deed history for my Center Hill Lake property, along with a preliminary lender collateral search. That alone did not prove anything. But it told me someone was circling, so I made calls. Quietly, I called the Register of Deeds office in Putnam County. I called a title attorney I had known for 20 years. I called Cumberland Heritage Bank and asked whether my name was associated with any pending commercial loan. They would not give me details, of course. Privacy rules. I knew that, but the hesitation in the loan assistant's voice told me enough. I had hoped I was wrong. A father hopes many foolish things when his child is involved. Now, at my kitchen table, I pulled up the notes I had made, dates, names, times, screenshots of the property alert, a copy of my driver's license, scans of my real signature from old notarized documents. I had not spent 36 years in compliance for nothing. At 8:12 the next morning, I made the call. The woman I called was named Sharon Vance. She was 63, sharp as a needle, and Senior Vice President of Risk Management at Cumberland Heritage Bank. We had worked together years earlier when I helped uncover a check-kiting scheme that nearly cost a local manufacturer its payroll account. Sharon was not warm. She was better than warm. She was precise. "Everett Cole," she said when she picked up. "I was wondering when I'd hear from you." That told me plenty. "Sharon," I said, "I need to report a fraudulent guarantor document connected to a pending commercial credit file." Silence. Then her voice changed. "Go ahead." I gave her everything, calmly. No insults, no family drama, no mention of birthday candles, or my daughter's ultimatum. I told her my name and property had been used in connection with a business loan without my consent. I told her a signature resembling mine appeared to have been submitted or prepared. I told her I had not authorized, reviewed, approved, or guaranteed any loan for Callahan Custom Outdoors. Then I said what mattered. My cabin is not collateral. My name is not a credit enhancement. And if any document in your file says otherwise, it is false. Sharon exhaled once. "Can you put that in a signed affidavit?" "I already wrote it. I can have it notarized and delivered by 10. "Do that," she said. "And Everett?" "Yes. I am sorry." I looked across the kitchen at Helen's bowl by the door. "Me too." By 9:40, my affidavit was notarized. By 10:15, it was in Sharon Vance's hands. I did not make a scene at the bank. I did not ask to see Brent. I did not call Marissa. I handed the envelope to Sharon's assistant, received a stamped copy, and walked back to my truck. People think revenge has to be loud. It does not. Sometimes revenge is a signed statement delivered before lunch. By noon, Cumberland Heritage froze the loan review. By 3, the Commercial Lending Committee had escalated the file. By the next morning, the bank had contacted its legal department, the title company, and, from what Sharon later told me in careful language, the appropriate reporting channels for suspected fraud. I did not have to push. I did not have to threaten. Paper remembers, and banks do not like being lied to in writing. The first call from Brent came Tuesday at 7:26 p.m. I was washing a coffee mug when my phone lit up. "Brent Callahan." I let it ring. He called again at 7:31, then 7:44, then 8:03. At 8:15, he sent a text. "Everett, there's been a misunderstanding. We need to clear this up before it ruins everything." Misunderstanding. That is a popular word among people who get caught. Nobody misunderstands when they are winning. The misunderstanding begins when consequences arrive. Marissa called at 8:22. I looked at her name until the screen went dark. That was harder. A part of me wanted to answer. A part of me wanted to explain, comfort, guide, soften. That was the old father in me. The one who treated every tear like a fire alarm. The one who believed love meant standing under whatever fell so my daughter would not have to feel the weight. But I had learned something at that birthday table. Sometimes catching your child every time is how you teach her to keep jumping. So I let it ring. Wednesday morning, I woke early, made eggs, and watered the tomato plants. My phone sat face down on the porch table. By breakfast, Brent had called 7 more times. Marissa had called 3. There were voicemails. I did not listen yet. At 10:10, I got a call from Sharon. I can't share internal details, she said. I know. But I can tell you the bank will not be moving forward with that credit facility. I closed my eyes. All right. There are serious concerns about the documents submitted. I understand. She paused. Everett, you were smart to act quickly. I looked toward the hallway, where an old photo of Helen and Marissa hung crooked no matter how many times I straightened it. No, I said. I was late. But not too late. The dominoes fell faster after that. The warehouse lease Brent had been bragging about required proof of financing by Wednesday afternoon. Without the loan, the landlord moved to the next applicant. The equipment supplier he had promised a deposit to canceled the order. 2 commercial clients who had been waiting on expansion timelines backed out. And by Thursday morning, word had begun spreading among contractors and lenders around Nashville that Callahan Custom Outdoors had a problem with its paperwork. In business, reputation is like glass on a concrete floor. It does not matter whether you meant to drop it. Everyone hears it break. Brent came apart before sunset. I know this because Marissa told me later. Not all at once. Pieces came out over time, the way truth does when someone is ashamed of how long they ignored it. He stormed through their house, blaming the bank, blaming me, blaming the system, blaming anyone whose name fit in his mouth. Then, he blamed her. He told her she had one job. One, to handle her father, to make sure I signed, to stop being sentimental and act like a wife. When Marissa said, "You told me Dad already agreed," Brent laughed at her. Not chuckled, not nervously, laughed. And then he said the words that finally opened her eyes. "Your father was never the point, Marissa. His clean title was." Clean title. That is what my wife's cabin had become in his mouth. Not memories, not family, not Helen's favorite place. A clean title, an asset, a number, a lever. Then he told her that without my property, the bank would never have given him enough to cover the debts he had already hidden from her. That was the next truth. There were debts, vendor balances, credit cards, a private loan from a man Brent called an investor but sounded more like a shark. The expansion had not been a dream, it had been a rescue raft. And Brent had planned to tie it to my cabin and call it family. Thursday afternoon, at 2:17, my doorbell rang. I was in the living room sorting through the photographs I had taken back from Marissa's house. I knew who it was before I got up. A parent always knows the sound of a child arriving after pride has run out of gas. Marissa stood on my porch wearing jeans, a gray sweatshirt, and no makeup. Her hair was pulled back badly, like she had done it in the car. Her eyes were swollen. She looked 31 and 13 at the same time. "Dad," she said. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside. She walked into the kitchen and sat at the table without asking. Same chair she had sat in since she was little. The chair near the window. I put the kettle on because Marissa drank tea when the world fell apart. Some habits survive even the worst choices. Neither of us spoke until the kettle clicked off. I set the mug in front of her. She stared at it. I didn't know about the debt. I sat across from her. "I believe you." Her face crumpled for half a second, but she forced it back together. "I knew about the loan. I knew he wanted the cabin as collateral. I knew he had sent some paperwork ahead." She swallowed. "Not too. I told myself it was okay because you would help if we explained it right." There it was. Not full innocence, not full guilt, something messier, something human. "And the signature?" I asked. She closed her eyes. He said it was just to start the process. That the bank needed to see family support before they would take him seriously. "I didn't sign your name, but I didn't stop him either." "No," I said. "You didn't." She flinched, but she did not run from it. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I waited. She looked up then, and the apology changed. It stopped being a reflex and became something heavier. "No, that's not enough. I'm sorry for what I said at dinner. I'm sorry I made you choose between your own property and being my father. I'm sorry I stood next to him while he treated Mom's cabin like it was spare change." Her voice broke. "And I'm sorry because part of me thought you would give in. Because you always have." I folded my hands on the table. That one hurt because it was true. "I taught you that," I said. She shook her head. "No, Dad. Yes, I said gently. I did. Every time you threatened distance, I paid whatever price brought you back close. I called it love. Sometimes it was fear. She cried then, quietly. Not the kind of crying meant to pull someone across the room. Just tears falling because there was nowhere else for them to go. I don't know what to do, she said. For once, I told her. You are going to decide that without using me as a bridge. She nodded, though I could see the words scared her. I talked to an attorney this morning, she said. I'm filing a statement with the bank. I'm telling them exactly what I knew and what I didn't. I'm also separating our accounts. And I'm staying with Lauren for a while. Lauren was her college roommate. A sensible woman. I had always liked her. That sounds like a start. She wiped her face. Brent wants you to call the bank and say you overreacted. No. The answer came so quickly Marissa almost smiled. He said you're ruining him. No, I said. He wrote his own name on that ruin. He just used my signature to get there. My phone buzzed on the counter. We both looked. Brent. It rang until it stopped. Then rang again. Marissa stared at the phone, and I saw something settle in her face. Not anger exactly. Recognition. He called me 42 times yesterday, she said. At first he begged, then he yelled, then he said if I loved him, I would fix you. Fix me. Imagine that, family. A man breaks into your trust, drags your name into his lie, and then tells your daughter that you are the thing needing repair. What did you tell him? I asked. I told him I wasn't his bridge anymore. For the first time in days, I felt something inside me loosen. Not forgiveness. Not yet. Something before forgiveness. A little room to breathe. Marissa reached into her purse and pulled out an envelope. She placed it on the table. What's that? A letter, she said. For you. Not to make this go away. Just because I need to say it properly. I also wrote one to Aunt Carol and Uncle Mike explaining what happened. I told them you didn't refuse to help family. You refused to be used. Aunt Carol was Helen's sister. Uncle Mike was my brother. People who loved me enough to deserve the truth before rumors got to them wearing dirty shoes. I picked up the envelope but did not open it. Thank you, I said. She nodded. I know this doesn't fix it. No, I said. It doesn't. That answer hurt her. I saw it. But she stayed seated. That mattered. I love you, I said. That has not changed. It did not change at dinner. It did not change when I let your calls ring. It will not change tomorrow. She looked at me like a child hearing a door open in the dark. But, I continued, love is not a blank check. It is not a deed. It is not a signature you can trace when you are scared. If we rebuild trust, we rebuild it with truth. Not pressure. Not tears. Not threats. She nodded slowly. I understand. I hope you do. We sat in the kitchen until the tea went cold. Brent left a voicemail that evening, 4 minutes and 12 seconds. I know because the phone told me, not because I cared to count. I listened once, alone, after Marissa left. He began with, Mr. Cole, which was new. Then he moved to regret, then stress, then misunderstanding, then pressure, then a final attempt at man-to-man sympathy. He said business owners sometimes move too fast. He said paperwork gets ahead of conversations. He said he respected me. That was my favorite part. Men who respect you rarely forge your name. Near the end, his voice cracked. If you call Sharon Vance and tell her this was a family matter, we can still save part of this. A family matter. I deleted the voicemail. Over the next month, Marissa did the hard things. Not perfectly. Nobody does hard things perfectly. But she did them. She filed her statement. She moved out of Brent's house. She met with an attorney. She sent apologies to the people who needed them, and did not decorate those apologies with excuses. She came to my house twice a week, not to ask for money, not to ask me to fix things, but to sit. Sometimes we talked. Sometimes we pulled weeds. Sometimes we opened old photo boxes and let Helen be in the room with us. One Saturday, we drove to the cabin together. I had not been there since spring. The place smelled like cedar, dust, and lake air. Marissa stood in the doorway for a long time. Then she walked to the back window where Helen used to sit with coffee in the mornings. I forgot how much Mom loved this place, she said. No, I told her. You didn't forget. You were just listening to someone who needed you not to remember. She cried again then. I did too, though not as much. At 68, you learned to cry efficiently. Before we left, Marissa took a small brass key off her key ring and placed it on the kitchen counter. I don't think I should have this right now, she said. That was the first apology that felt like a foundation. I picked up the key and closed my hand around it. One day, I said, we'll make another copy. She nodded. When I've earned it. Brent's business did not survive the season. I heard that from other people, not from him. The bank reported what it needed to report. The landlord leased the warehouse to someone else. The trucks disappeared from his driveway one by one. I never celebrated that. Do not misunderstand me. I was relieved. I was protected. But I did not dance on the ashes. A man like Brent had mistaken kindness for weakness, family for leverage, and paperwork for a place to hide. The world corrected him. I simply stopped blocking the correction. As for Marissa and me, we are not what we were. That is not a sad thing. What we were had cracks in it. What we are now is quieter, more honest, less pretty from the road maybe, but stronger in the frame. She still calls me Dad. I still answer. But, she asks, now. That may not sound like much to some people. To me, it is everything. A few weeks after the whole thing began, I found the birthday card she had given me that night before the folder came out. I had shoved it in my truck console and forgotten about it. Inside, she had written, "Thank you for always being there when I need you." I sat with that sentence for a long time. Then I took a pen and wrote beneath it, where no one else would see, "I still am, but I am not collateral." I keep that card in my desk drawer now, beside Helen's old cabin key and a stamped copy of the affidavit that saved what was mine. Not because I enjoy remembering the pain, I do not. I keep it there because a man my age should not have to learn the same lesson twice. Family, listen to me when I say this. There are people who will call your boundaries cruelty because your obedience was useful to them. There are people who will call your dignity selfish because they already spent it in their plans. Sometimes those people will be strangers. Sometimes they will sit at your birthday table and look at you with your child's eyes. Love them if you must. Pray for them if you do. Leave the porch light on if your heart won't let you turn it off. But do not hand thieves a key and call it peace. Love can stay gentle without becoming easy to misuse. Everett's strength was not in closing his heart, but in finally protecting what grief, work, and memory had made sacred. Families heal best when truth is allowed to sit at the table with love. A boundary spoken calmly can become the first honest step back toward trust.